iRacing third, HM Engineering in fourth, and F4H Racing rounding out your top 5. Then you got Huber Racing Esports, Inertial Sim Racing, TNT Racing, Williams Gym Esports, and Williams Gym Esports rounding out your top 10. And then we head ourselves over to your racing here at Imola for round number 4 of the championship.
There was a bit of 3 wide in the background there, but it all looked relatively sane down in towards turn 1 in the GT3 class. Their classes, of course, start separately with their own starting orders. RSO went for a bit of a spin in the background there, but it's Porsche Cup time.
Yeah, Porsche Cup cars come past the start-finish line, and then immediately you're going to start seeing at the back of your shot, we're going to see our TCR class coming past the start-finish line. Now they get the green flag. Hey, Connery.
Yeah, everything pretty clean here at the start of the opening lap of 6 hours of racing here in the 24 Hours Esports Series. You can see the Porsche field, hooked their way through, but just as we were singing their praises,
Williams Gym around
this race, we have got a battle going on for second place in your Porsche division. Anders Dahl, second place for Burst Esports, HM Engineering. Kieran Harrison in the number 959 car right behind as they exit out Minerali, now head themselves down to Variante Alta. And this is where those curbs, we'll see in the racing conditions, really can come into play. It's worth noting, David, there has been a change to the penalty system for this event. And it's not because of Neo, it's because of the way the iRacing system works, in that if a driver, and they can now, of course, in the 24-hour series esports, if a driver wants to take themselves their penalty with their pit stop, they will end up basically serving another 25 seconds compared to what they would have done in previous rounds.
Yeah, indeed. So sometimes teams would be given 5 seconds stop and holds, which they could roll into one of their pit stops, and it was a little slap on the wrist maybe for things that would go unpenalized in other series. Now there's no cheap, easy little
secure the position ahead of the lap traffic. We see someone spun though. That's HM Engineering. That was P3 in your Porsche class, and they've lost quite a bit of time as a result of a big old slide coming through turn 1. It just snapped on entry.
Yeah, and he caught the grass. Yeah, down at turn number 1. There's a little bit of damage to that car as well, the number 959, due to early incidents. I think that might have just upset the handling of that race car a tiny, tiny bit. By the way, we've had ourselves another stop and hold penalty. That's a 959 car. Open hold penalty. That's a 959 car. Ironically, the car we were just talking about, HM Engineering. That was for causing a collision. And that's the reason why we have got some damage to the front end of this number 959 car. And it's because they tapped the rear of the number 911 Burst Esports car several times before the start of the race. So that explains the damage a little bit there, David.
Yeah, it's put 2 and 2 together and get 4 there. It certainly would make a lot of sense. That all definitely adds up for them, and they're doing a very, very solid job in what's the first HM Engineering entry in this series to be up there mixing it with the podium positions. Unfortunately now they're going to drop down a little bit. We'll see what they can do later in the race. It was a promising start, not quite so strong now.
Yeah, as we go down and have a look, and you can see, well, there's still a lot of traffic going on around on Chase with ASUS Esports in 4th, Williams Esports running in 5th, MSI Esports in 6th place, Apex Racing Team 7th, and Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing in 8th, and HM Engineering have just had themselves an incident on track. That looks as though it was down at Tamburello. We'll get ourselves a replay of that one now for you. This is HM Engineering, the number 959 car, who have been involved in incidents already here today. So it's going to be another 3 wide moment in towards turn number 1. There's 5, 6 cars in the same piece of real estate. Oh, and yeah.
Hard to blame them for that on first look. Once it's 3 wide like that, I mean, it's there just wasn't room for everyone. Take another look at some other angles and you can work out a little bit more, but it really looks like they were trying to put a move on Go Team Racing. Triton come down the inside. I mean, if anything, maybe HM go a bit too far across to the right in front of Gold Team Racing there. So I'm not going to blame Gold Team Racing either, but you said this track a little bit narrow. Stanley, an Indonesian driver there, so a lot of different nationalities represented here in this race, and iRacing is good for that because you can log in wherever you are around the world with an internet connection.
Yeah, that is great, and the fact that we have universal, almost universal participation. I think that I've seen drivers from at least 5 continents around the world now. It's absolutely great to see the level of participation growing around the world. As TNT Racing, by the way, battling out with HM Engineering. This is going on in your Porsche 991 division. Number 959, HM Engineering. They started off well, Connery. They qualified in the top 5. Penalties and incidents have pushed them back down a little bit, though.
Yeah, they haven't had the greatest of times inside the stewards' office. They've lost 6 positions from where they've started in class, and that is not ideal by any means. But, you know, we've got 3 hours, 38 minutes left remaining in this race. Still enough time to try and get a recovery drive going. And sometimes this is a decent test for a lot of teams. How much can you keep your head in the game here when things go wrong? How much can you recover? And that really shows a good character of a team if they're able to keep going and able to pick up a couple of spots before the end.
Yeah, and let's actually go on board of TNT Racing, shall we? Let's give you a couple of moments of onboardness as we give you some RaceSpot TV fan immersion. Seconds back right now. We have a look at the weather quickly. 51 degrees it remains, 123 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you working in the Imperial system. Humidity's come down a little bit, David. It's come down actually about 10% since the start of this race now. That will make the engines a little bit more fuel efficient compared to how they were earlier. The wind speeds, it just dipped from 8 to 7 miles an hour for the first time I've seen in a while. Going on between Go Team Racing, 4H Racing, so F4H Racing and HM Engineering at certain stages during this race. Go Team Racing and F4H Racing, it looked as though they just had a piece of rope between them for hours and hours at an end here. HM Engineering, they qualified inside your top 5. Dropped down a little bit. Huber Racing eSports in 8th place. TNT Racing in 9th. So a little bit of battling for TNT Racing at the end of the race. A quiet and probably a bit of a dull day for IRDK Endurance in the number 955.